We are back. We're doing something a little bit different this time. I had a request. I had a request from a viewer asking me to go over some of what we can expect in Security Plus. And I took this to mean that they wanted like a frequently asked questions for Security Plus, for what they can expect in Security Plus. So I put together quite a few questions that I commonly am asked by a lot of students when it comes to Security Plus and what they should expect and all the basic knowledge that comes with it. That's what we're going to do today. Let's get started. Here we go. Question number 1. How many questions can I expect? 70 to 90 questions. 70 to 90 questions. Now, here's the thing, okay? 2 to 5 of those questions can be PBQs. These are performance-based questions. What is a performance-based question? We'll get into that in a second, right? But how many questions can I expect? 70 to 90 questions. Majority of the questions are going to be multiple choice, single answer, 4 responses, and your PBQs are first, which leads me to my next question I'm often asked. I can't talk today. What is the format? The format is 1 question at a time on a screen. Now, you can always go back. You can flag a question. You can go back to a question. I remember the very first time I took my own Security Plus exam, I was having a hard time remembering what an acronym was. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I didn't know acronyms. That 40% clue that I keep on giving you, that's why. And so with the acronym, I couldn't remember it. And so I guessed because I was like, okay, let's rule out this answer. Let's rule out this answer. I got to keep moving on. You got to force yourself to keep moving on. You got to move on, right? And so I moved on, and then 2 questions later, somebody answered it for me. One of the questions, I didn't want to say somebody's, the question actually spelled out what the acronym meant. And I was able to go back 2 questions and then properly answer the question because now it told me what the acronym was. And so I was like, there it is. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, CompTIA. That can happen. That can happen, right? So what is the format? Well, it's 70, 90 questions. At the very first part of the exam, you'll have between 2 and 5 performance-based questions. These are any question that's not multiple choice. Within those performance-based questions, I want you to skip those, right? That's a common tactic that I often utilize. It's a strategy that I would definitely do. You flag the question on the top right-hand side of your screen. You'll see this flag button. Click on that flag button and then skip the question. Don't even read it. Just skip it and move on, okay? Because your nerves are shot. Listen, I've taken so many exams, and even I still get nervous when I go to a Pearson VUE Test Center to take the exam. All the time. I do it, right? I get nervous too. Go to the multiple choice question, start working from there. Because then your mind is going to be in the moment. You're going to slow down about the 5th or 6th multiple choice question and be like, I got this. Or you'll be like, I don't have this. But you need to come in with some confidence. You've got it, okay? And then you can come back to those PBQs at the end. And that's what we want to do. That's what we want to do, all right? So what is a PBQ? Well, I'm glad you asked. A PBQ is any question that's not multiple choice. They could be matching questions. They could be hands-on command line interface questions. They could be network architecture question where you have to figure out where to put the firewall or where you put the IDS. It could be an IP question where you have to go through and identify different IPs. It could be a logging question. It could be a tool output question. Anything that's on the domains, which we'll get into in a minute, is fair game for a PBQ. I've seen every type of PBQ you can imagine. I literally have. My favorite is the matching ones. I just like the matching ones because those are easy, and I like easy, right? But more often than not, they're going to be command line. You're going to have a little bit into it, okay? They may ask you to jump in there, and then they only give you certain commands, right? So I know, for instance, with CYSA, they wanted me to run nmap, but I only had access to like 2 nmap commands, and they'll tell you what those commands are. And so you have to go through and you have to run nmap, right? So PBQs are anything that's not multiple choice. Now there are certain multiple choice questions that are guess to or select to. Very rare on Security Plus. I've only seen like 1, maybe 2 out there. Network Plus, I saw quite a few. CYSA, I don't think I saw any either. But they are there, right? That is not a PBQ. That's just a multiple choice, right? But drop-down menu questions, those are PBQs. Matching questions, select multiples. Those as long as they're not multiple choice, but select multiple PBQs or pull downs, those are on there. It's an entire range of different PBQs. And we try to do what we can on this channel to prepare you for some of the ones that we can do, but I really can't go through and do command lines on this, right? I can show you how to do it, but you can't do it on your own. And I want you to do it on your own. So that's a PBQ, performance-based question. What is a passing score? Well, CompTIA goes between 100 and 900 on their exam. That's 100 to 900, passing score of 750. Now, obviously, because it's not from a 0 to 900 or something like that, then you can't really gauge what your percentage is, right? You can't really get that. But we anticipate it's been out there that a passing score is about 84%. About 84 to 86% is our guess. Okay? Because it is a guess. We are not positive. That means that normally what happens after I say that is students start going through and they're like, okay, 70 questions, I need to get this many right. Well, no, that's not how this works. Performance-based questions are worth more than multiple choice questions. We know that. We know that performance-based questions are worth more. And then the difficulty of the question is worth more as well. If you get harder questions, it's worth more than, say, a softball question. Like a question like, what port does HTTP operate on? Well, you'd be like, oh, well, it operates on port 80. Well, that's an easy question. That may be worth only 1 point. But what if they asked you a question like, here's a scenario in which version da-da-da of HTTP, and you're like, okay, is that version 1.1? Is that version 3? What version of HTTP is? Well, that would be a harder question, and so it's worth more points. And so you really can't go into it from that perspective. Just do your best and understand the content, and you'll be fine. You'll be good, okay? Stop worrying about it. You'll be all right. How long do I have? 90 minutes. You have 90 minutes. 90 minutes. So my take on it, if you watch any of my study videos, is always 30 to 45 seconds per question. 30 to 45 seconds per question. If you have 90 questions, which most people don't. Most people have about 73, 74, 75. The most I've ever had was actually on Network Plus. I had 90 questions with 5 PBQs. I was like, CompTIA, what are you doing to me, man? Like, that was rough. It really was, because I was running out of time. And I barely met the time requirement. Barely, okay? But with Security Plus, typically most students have between 73 and 80 questions is usually what it is, okay? The reason we want you to answer the question, the reason I want you to answer the questions within 30 to 45 seconds is so that you have more time for those PBQs, right? The PBQs are worth more points. So you want to go through, either you know the answer or you don't. I mean, let's be honest here. Most of us can go through it and we're like, okay, well, it might be between this one and this one. You need to have an internal clock in your mind going, okay, it's been 30, 45 seconds. It's time to move on. It's time to get on there and answer the question, okay? And that's what we're trying to do, all right? 30 to 45 seconds per multiple choice question. Use the rest of your time for the PBQs, and if you have time after that, then go back and review it. Remember, we're going to answer every question. Even if we don't know it, we're going to answer it. Why? Because, like my wife, and our first meeting each other, I had like a 3% chance of her saying yes. And she said yes. She was way out of my league. And I'm okay with that. Way out of my league. It's fine. All right? But she said yes. I got lucky. Just like me getting lucky and her saying yes on that first date, you could get lucky on your exam as well. You have a 25% chance of getting that question right. You have 25% chance if you don't know it at all. So guess. If you can rule out one answer, you have a 33% chance. Rule out two, you got 50% chance. So we're always going to answer. We're going to answer every single question, even if we have no idea what it is. No idea. I had one student tell me they got so infuriated about halfway through they felt degraded on their exam. They just walked out halfway through. Don't do that. Don't do that. If nothing else, answer all the questions. Answer all the questions. Don't feel degraded. You may actually pass. Believe it or not. I remember my first Security Plus exam. I thought for sure I bombed it. I thought for sure I was not going to pass. I got my highest score ever. Don't trust your feelings, all right? Go through it. Go through the process. You'll be okay, all right? Should I take it in person or virtual? Take it in person. Take it in person. And I know a lot of people just went, oh, I don't want to take it in person. Take it in person. I hear horror stories all the time from virtual people. All the time on the virtualization. All the time. I hear people telling me, I took my exam virtually and I looked up for too long. They gave me a warning. I looked up again. They disqualified me. I had my son, my 2-year-old, walk in the room and they heard some talking, so they disqualified me. My dog walked in the room and so they disqualified me. Why did a dog walking in the room disqualify you? Well, you have one person to blame for that, and that was another test taker who was taking it virtually. Their dog walked in from CompTIA. I heard this from CompTIA, by the way. The dog had sticky notes underneath him, so he could read notes on the dog. Yeah, and the camera caught it. And so they disqualified him. And now, no pets in the room. Yeah. It sounds stupid, but there's a reason for it. There's always a method to it. I've heard so many horror stories. I've heard as many as 30% of virtual test takers have their exam disqualified. Now, I'm not sure where that number came from. I'm not sure that's an accurate number, to be honest, but I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't do it. I would take it in person. Make sure that when you're scheduling your exam, because I had a young lady tell me the closest exam center for her was like 2 hours away, and I was like, that can't be right. And sure enough, when we looked at it, when one of my colleagues went in and started searching for it, they realized no, that's just a Pearson VUE test center. What about actually CompTIA? Because CompTIA uses Pearson VUE, and then Pearson VUE may subcontract out to community colleges, other test centers, all of that. As long as it's certified as a Pearson VUE test center, it may not be an official Pearson VUE test center, but it may be qualified as one. Then they can go through that process. And almost every community college has got one. You'd be surprised. A lot of community colleges have a Pearson VUE test center inside doors. So take it in person. I guarantee there's one probably within 30 minutes of you. 30 to 45, unless you're like really in the boonies, okay? Like I'm in the boonies, and there's one within 30 minutes of me, okay? When should I schedule it? Well, once you start studying for it, and you're like, I'm going to take this exam, you want to set it up for 6 weeks in advance. 6 weeks. Why 6 weeks? Because it psychologically it puts a deadline in your head, and when you have that deadline, when you go through that deadline, you're like, okay, I need to study for this. You've put it on the marker. You said, I'm going to do this. You've committed to it, okay? And so when should I schedule it? 6 weeks in advance. 6 weeks is how long you need to study for it. This is like an hour or two every day, right? You can miss a day or two. It's not a big deal, right? But you're committed to learning the content, and you're committing to learn it and pass the certification. And so schedule it for 6 weeks. Now, if you get to the point and you're like, okay, my exam is literally in 2 days and I am not ready. I did not do what I was supposed to do. I don't feel confident about it. I'm ready to just pass out. I'm having a panic attack. Whatever the reason, right? It doesn't matter. You can reschedule it. Is there a fee? No. As long as you do it after 24 hours. After 24 hours. If you're within the 24-hour timeline, like let's say my time, it's like 5 p.m., right? It's like 5 p.m. and then my exam's 3 p.m. tomorrow. That's sooner than 24 hours. They're not going to accept it. So I'm either going to show up or I'm going to lose my money. We don't want to do that. We don't want to lose our money. So if you're going to reschedule, make sure you schedule it greater than 24 hours out. You'll be fine. Okay? But you can always reschedule, but always schedule it. Schedule it 6 weeks in advance. If you're ready to do it before then, that's fine. Reschedule it closer. It's okay. You can do that. All right. Moving on. What resources should I use to study? You should use... so this is the default one for me, right? Because I work for several companies that actually teach it. And so I can tell you those companies are really good at what they did. If they didn't, I wouldn't use them, right? I wouldn't teach for them if I thought they were slick about it. Now, I want to point this out, okay? There's a lot of bootcamp courses out there. There's a lot of courses out there that promise you within a week you can take the exam and pass it, okay? I'm not a big fan of those, and there's a reason for that, okay? They're great if you work in the industry. Like if you're already cybersecurity and you do it for an everyday living and you're like, hey, I need the exam, I already do half the stuff, and I understand the core principles, but I've forgotten a lot of stuff and I just need to get caught up to date on some of this, then yeah, boot camps are great for that. If you've never taken security courses, if you have never worked cybersecurity, if you're kind of a noob to it, right? You know what I'm talking about. It's not to be mean. It's just, it is what it is, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody, including myself. I didn't grow up to become a cyber expert. I didn't grow up with my PhD. They didn't just hand it to me, right? And so if you're brand new to it, I do not recommend those bootcamp courses at all in any way, shape, or form. I don't care what they tell you. I'm not a fan of them. I think it's almost predatory practices if you see one of those bootcamp courses, okay? And you have no knowledge or experience in Security Plus. I think that it's wrong of them, and they should not give you that money. Because one of two things is going to happen. Either A, you're going to pass your exam. Yay, they did what they were supposed to do. They passed your exam, but you're not going to remember any of it. And if you don't remember it, what's the points of having the Security Plus exam if you don't work in the industry? And so now you've set yourself up for failure. Because when you go to your interview and you're trying to break into security and you're like, hey, what's this do? And they ask you some basic cybersecurity questions, you're not going to be able to answer them well. And you're screwed. And yeah, you got the certification, but who cares? You don't know it, right? And so why waste your time with that? Now, if you work in the industry, that's a whole different story, okay? And then there's other companies, right? And they have 8-week programs, they have 6-week programs. Those are the types of programs I would go after. Some colleges actually offer a fundamentals to cybersecurity course that you can take. And you just take that one college course, and a lot of those overlap with Security Plus by 80-90%. And those are good courses, okay? Community colleges often teach them. There's a couple private companies that often do it. those are the resources I would use. If you're never in cyber, if you're first time into cyber, learn the content. Okay? Learn the content. You are not going to be able to trick somebody like me if I'm interviewing you for a cybersecurity position and you don't know the content. I'm going to know. I'm going to ask you some basic questions, and I'm going to be like, well, what's the certificate authority do? What's the CIA triad? Explain the OSI model to me, right? These are basic questions that you should know. And if you took a bootcamp course and you don't know it, yeah, you could pass your Security Plus exam. We see this in college all the time, where somebody crams for an exam, they pass the exam, and then they flush out all that knowledge because they didn't retain it. They don't have retention. And that's not what you want. You want to retain the knowledge, okay? So, again, sorry, went off on a rant. What resources should I use to study? Well, there's a lot of great resources out there. There really are. Udemy has some great courses on there. There's free courses over here by some other colleagues that teach, right, cybersecurity on a great basis. And there's programs out there to actually teach you the content. If you're never done cybersecurity, you don't know the first thing about it, take a real class. You won't regret it. Really do. Okay? That's the resources I should use. What resources you shouldn't use, I think should be the next question. Do not use free exams online that you find. Half of them, I've noticed, have the wrong answers. Make sure that the person is reputable. Make sure that they know what they're talking about. Okay? There's people like me. I freely give you my LinkedIn. Go ahead. Look at what I've done. Look who I teach for. Look who organizations I'm with, right? There's I don't want to say a brand associated with me, but I have the education. And so I'm not going to lead you astray. Do I make mistakes? Yeah, I make mistakes. You may find I do my best, but you may find one question out of 100 that's not right. Okay? And I make mistakes. Everybody does. Anybody that says they're perfect, I'm going to show you a liar. Okay? But there are a lot of open, free exams online that you can go to, and they're not right. Like, I've seen one as many as 40% of their answers were incorrect. Okay? So be careful about that. Other people that use ChatGPT, I found so many problems with ChatGPT. A matter of fact, most of the questions that I get come from ChatGPT, and you'd be surprised how often I'm like, that's not the right answer. And then I have to double check myself and be like, okay, ChatGPT, are you having an aneurysm? What's going on here? And they're like, no, I was wrong. Yeah, you were wrong, all right. So watch ChatGPT. It's a great tool for what it is. In a crunch, you could use it. Just realize that it is not perfect. I've found as many as 30% of the questions that ChatGPT gives me sometimes is wrong, or the answers they give me are wrong. And so, literally, I don't recommend ChatGPT either. It's great if you have nothing else, but be careful. Be careful with it. Okay, they're not right all the time. All right. Okay. If I fail, can I retake the exam? First off, I don't want you to fail. Okay. No one wants you to fail an exam. Not even CompTIA really wants you to fail an exam. They really don't. Okay. Exam certificates are expensive. You should not be taking the exam until you're ready. Now, sometimes some people are never ready. All right, you got to get ready. Okay, you've got to take the plunge at some point. Okay, but if you're like going to the exam, you should already have a good feeling. You should be confident. There's one of my colleagues said, hey, he read a book and it's all about the mind power of feeling confident about it. If you walk in thinking you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail. If you walk in going, I'm gonna pass this and I'm feeling confident about my thing, and you're confident about it, even if you're not confident, fake it till you make it. Believe it or not, that is a real thing, and you'll be okay. You can get through it. You can pass it. But if you do fail, you can take the first time you fail. You can take it immediately right after, like literally the next day if you want to. Same with the second time you fail. The third time you fail, they make you wait. Okay, I think it's 2 weeks, 14 days after that. Okay, but you should not be failing. You should come in. You should take the practice exams. You should do the study that I'm giving you. You should use the study that other people online give you that are accredited, that understand the content, that have a background in cybersecurity, and go through it, and you'll be fine. Okay, Security Plus, believe it or not, is not a hard exam, but it's not a memorization exam either. And don't memorize the answers on the quizzes that we give you. Those quiz questions are not going to be on the exam. Even I, who have taken Security Plus God knows how many times, okay, I am restricted. CompTIA makes me sign an NDA, and you will too, that says I won't take those exam questions and bring them on to my own lesson. I won't give away those questions. And so I'm not going to. That would be an ethics violation, right? And so memorization of the quizzes is not what you should be doing. You should be reading the quiz question, answering it, and then understanding why the answer is the answer. If you do that, you'll pass, okay? All right, so what are the exam objectives? There's 5 domains. 5 domains within this, okay? Attacks, threats, and vulnerabilities makes up 24% of your exam. And there's a bunch that goes into that, okay? Architecture and design, 21%. Implementation, 25%. Operations and incident response, 16%. Governance, risk, and compliance, or GRC, is 14%. And so these are the domains you should be studying. There is a link, and I will provide it in the video description, that you can go to, and it outlines all of the QAs, all the knowledge units, everything that you need to know associated with this. Okay, now if you attend a class that is specific to cybersecurity, to Security Plus, they'll have all this for you, and they're going to cover everything. All right, especially a good one. Make sure that you research those companies, by the way, and don't take a boot camp course if you've never done security. Don't do that to yourself. All right, you're not going to get what you think out of it. All right, next question. Do I need to know everything? Really, do I really need to know everything? Yes, you do. Anything that's on those domains, they can ask a question. And so while there's a lower chance for some questions and a higher chance for others, they are on the exam. So if it has a QA in there, if it has a QA, I don't know why I keep on calling it a QA, a KA, a knowledge point, a knowledge unit in there, KU, not, I don't even know why I'm saying QA. Quality assurance, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, do I need to know everything? Yes, you need to know everything in order to pass your exam, 100%. Are there accommodations? I often get asked by students, are there accommodations? Yes, but you need to reach out to peer review 2 weeks in advance of your exam. I recommend that you schedule it 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time, at least. And you heard me before, 6 weeks in advance. Reach out to them and tell them, hey, I need accommodations for this, whatever your accommodation need is. And then they will judge it, they will grade it, and then say yes, they'll say no, they'll approve it, they'll deny it, and they'll give you whatever accommodations you need, right? If you're blind, then they'll set that up, I believe. I've never had a blind student take it, so I'm not sure, but I assume that they will actually go through there and give you some spoken word or maybe something else, right? I'm sure there's a computer program that works for that. That is an interesting question. More often than not, most people that ask for accommodations are asking for more time. You have to have a legitimate medical reason for them to give you more time, okay? So be aware of that. They aren't just going to give you an accommodation because you asked for it. You have to provide proof for that, okay? How long is my certification good for? It's good for 3 years. 3 years from the date that you passed, it's good for. Now, that means that for those 3 years that you have your certification, you can say, hey, I'm certified Security Plus. Which leads to the next question, how do I renew it? Well, you can renew it in several different ways. One of the ways is continuing education, right? Throughout those 3 years, you can gather continuing education. You go through and you gather this continuing education through conferences, through learning modules, through college courses. There's a variety of different ways. You can look on their website and find all the different ways. Or you can take the next higher exam or the exam itself. Meaning that if you take the Security Plus exam before the 3-year mark, then it automatically renews it. I know, right? Which is a nice way of doing it. Or you take the next higher exam. For instance, I often recommend to students they take CYSA. That will automatically renew your Security Plus and bring it up to par with your CYSA. And that gives you a stackable certification, which is the next question. What is a stackable certification? Certification within CompTIA that is the next higher or lower, right? So, for instance, if you get both Security Plus and CYSA, you have a stackable certification called CSAP, right? Cybersecurity Analyst Professional, I believe is what they call it, right? Not to be confused with Cybersecurity Analyst, which is CYSA. And so you get that stackable certification. It automatically renews your Security Plus, and going further, all you have to do is renew your CYSA, and if you renew your CYSA, it automatically renews your Security Plus. And it goes that way for each certification that you've got. For instance, I have Network Plus, Security Plus, CYSA Plus. Working on Pen Test Plus right now. I'm actually going to start doing videos on Pen Test Plus just because as I'm studying, I want to go through and explain it to myself and go through it. So as you're going through that, you want to go through and it'll automatically renew those previous certifications. And so that's a statical certification. All right, will this get me my first cybersecurity job? Will having Security Plus get me my first cybersecurity job? No, it won't. A certification is just that. It's a piece of paper that says at the time you took the certification, you knew the foundational knowledge associated with Security Plus. That's all it says. Okay. If you can't retain the information, right? So let's take a step back. Your Security Plus exam is like a key to the gate that held up by HR for that cybersecurity job. A lot of companies require Security Plus. Matter of fact, I think most students, they look online, they're like, oh, it's 6 out of 10 jobs. Well, yeah, 6 out of 10 say it on the job thing, but it's probably closer to 9 out of 10 request or require Security Plus for you to get through the HR gates. Yeah, it's that prevalent. Okay, you could probably find jobs online that say, oh, you don't need Security Plus, and I would tell you that half of them are lying, if not more. Okay, and the reason is because they have their own internal thing. They just don't say it. They just expect you to have it. And do I like it? Do I think it's a great thing? No, I don't. I'll be honest with you. I think having Security Plus is it equivalent to does it prove knowledge? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Anybody can pass Security Plus. My 10-year-old could take the Security Plus exam and get lucky and pass it. Does that mean that he's qualified? No. No, it doesn't, right? And so Security Plus is a key to get through the HR gateway to get your resume seen by cybersecurity professionals. That's all it is. Anybody that works in this industry is going to tell you the same thing, I hope, right? Maybe somebody has a different opinion. That's fine. If they do, I'd love to hear it. But Security Plus is not going to get you your first job. Security Plus will get you through the gatekeepers, which then will get you the interview, and the interview needs to prove that you actually remember Security Plus along with hands-on material, right? So the hands-on is what's going to get you the job. Security Plus isn't going to get you the job. It's going to get you the stamp of approval, the key to the gateway, okay? All right, move on. What should I do after I get Security Plus? You should get hands-on experience, okay? I hear this all the time. People are asking me, I'm going to get CYSA Plus next. Okay, what are you doing? Now, listen, this is a double-edged sword, right? Because some people are going to be like, well, I'm in college. Should I go off and get a job right after that? Well, no, you're kind of learning. That's your job as a full-time student. I would implore you to go get a part-time job, maybe as a help desk professional, maybe you get a SOC analyst position, maybe something that puts your hands on tools in cybersecurity, right? Maybe even if it's only 5-10 hours a week, maybe it's only volunteering. Start working that way if you're a college student, right? And be working on other certifications like CYSA. A lot of college courses go online with certifications, whether they say they do or they don't, right? For instance, if you're taking an ethical hacking course, chances are that ethical hacking course has a lot to do with Pentest Plus. If you're taking a cyber defense course, right, not a beginner foundational course, but a cyber defense course, you're probably doing CYSA, right? A lot of overlap between the two. So you should be working on those certifications while you're doing it and do 2 for 1. If you're in college, because I am a college professor, I tell people all the time, sophomore year, Security Plus. Junior year, CYSA. Senior year should be another certification. Either Network Plus, right? Maybe Pentest Plus, maybe CEH, maybe CASP, maybe Linux Plus, maybe Cloud Plus. There's a bunch of them out there. Yeah, most of them are CompTIA exams because I like CompTIA. They're more theoretical in nature, and for college students, they kind of make more sense. And that's primarily my domain. If you're not in college and you're taking a course maybe at one of the other companies I contract with, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not in college. What should I be doing? Hands-on. Hands-on. Get your Security Plus, work on hands-on, right? Should I be working at CYSA as well? Yeah, I would still do it, but I wouldn't make it a priority over hands-on. Hands-on experience is what's going to get you the job, okay? Now, luckily for you, CYSA has a lot to do with that aspect, right? You learn logging, you learn tool outputs, and so learning CYSA Plus while you're learning hands-on, in my opinion, is a good route to take, okay? But hands-on experience is going to get you the job more often than anything else, and that's the route I would go. I really would. And CYSA, even though I love that certification, it doesn't have the appeal to a lot of organizations yet. It will in the future. I really do believe that. I really do. But it's going to take some time. All right, next one. I want to be a pen tester. Will this help me? Will this help me become a pen tester? Okay, listen. I'm going to crash some dreams here. All right, pen testing is not a job that you get straight out of high school, straight out of college. It's not. You need to have 3 to 5 years of experience to become a pen tester. I see this all the time, especially with college students. They're like, I'm going to go get Security Plus and I'm going to go get Pentest Plus or CEH because I'm going to be a pen tester. No, you're not. You're not going to be a pen tester straight out of college. You're not going to be a pen tester straight out of a boot camp course. It's not going to happen. I don't recommend that you go to that route. My recommendation is go to the defensive side for several reasons. One, even though you want to be a pen tester, it's a road, it's a journey. It's not a overnight thing, okay? Can you be learning pen testing while you're doing it? Yeah, go for it. If your dream is to be a pen tester, just realize that it's a long-term dream. It's not an overnight dream. And I'm not trying to break your dreams. I'm just telling you it takes some work. And so learn cyber defense first, okay? Go through, get that SOC job, get that job as a malware analysis, as an incident responder, and then go become a pen tester. Get 2, 3, 4 years of experience, get the certifications, understand what you're doing, and then become a pen tester. You'll learn so much doing the defensive side. The second reason is, do you know that like 9 out of 10 jobs are cyber defense? It's actually closer to 9.5%. 95% of jobs are cyber defense, not cyber offense. So you're trying to compete with everybody else that wants to do it. Go get the defensive job, get your hands wet, get your hands dirty with defense, and then work towards that pen testing job. And then you can go fulfill those dreams of being the ultimate hacker extraordinaire and doing bug bounties. Okay? I'm not saying stop learning. You'll never hear me say stop learning. Always be learning. ABL. Always be learning, especially in cybersecurity. All right, I think I answered all the questions that I frequently asked. Did I miss a question? If I did, throw it in the Q&A down below. I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll do another video on it. All right, everybody. Thanks again. My name is Dr. K. We'll see you again.